All right. So these are all the things that we're going to be talking about today. Literary techniques are used to enhance understanding and artistry of a piece. So you could write that first. Literary techniques are used on the big side, on your note side. Just write that first line. Used to enhance understanding and artistry of a piece. When you read something that has all of these pretty techniques in it, you're able to understand what the author's trying to convey better. It's not just like, oh, the dog walked across the street, all boring. It's pretty. You can visualize it. These are what we're going to be looking at today. There are quite a few of them. Some of them you probably know, some of them maybe not, but we're going to go through all of them, and we're going to be working with them from here on out, through every single English class you will ever take. These are important. 11:30.
Huh? Hold on. Wait a minute. What time?
9:30. It's a 2-hour class. All right, so your first thing you're going to write down is imagery. This is descriptive language. Generally, it's going to be something that appeals to your sense of sight or smell or taste. We're describing stuff really well so that we can see that image in our head when we're reading. So I would write down, make sure you say imagery so you know when we come back to the questions what you have a question on the big side. Mm-hmm. Well, we're doing it this way so that we're going to come back to this and write questions. So write like you normally would take notes, just write it here. Don't write on this yet. Hold it here. Pretend this is your paper. So keep doing your notes how you do it.
So just write.
But we're going to come back to that other column. Yes. So take notes as you normally would on this line. You don't have to write every word, though, so we can kind of, shorthand it. So if this was... I was taking notes on this, I would just say imagery is descriptive language that appeals to the senses. Just something sweet.
So you want to write the word?
Yes, write the word in there so we know what you're writing about. I notice on other people's notes, they don't write what the actual thing is, and then when they come back to write the question, they don't know what they're writing a question about because they forgot the word. Good? Oh, your time. Mm-hmm. Good. A simile, which is probably something you guys have heard of before, compares two things. It uses the words like or as to do so. So the star is as bright as a diamond. We're comparing the brightness of the star to a diamond. Or her words were sharp like a knife. We're using like or as to compare two different things. If a sentence just has like in it, but it's not comparing something, that's not a simile. So if I say, I like dogs, I'm not comparing anything. I'm just saying what I actually like. So don't think just because it has like in the sentence that it's a simile. You've got to be comparing stuff. Okay. One very similar to the simile is metaphor. Metaphor is still comparing two things, but you do not use like or as to do it. So life is a roller coaster ride. If I was doing that as a simile, what would I say?
Life is like.
Correct. So you see the difference. Life is like a roller coaster ride. Life is a roller coaster ride. Still comparing, just without like or as in it. Remember, you can use your notes on the quiz, so take good ones and make sure you know what you wrote down so you don't come back to it and have no clue what it's about. Hyperbole. Has anyone heard of this one before? This one's probably new for everyone. This is an exaggeration. And we use it an awful lot when we talk. Have you ever said, like, it took forever to get there? You heard of that before? That's an exaggeration. It didn't take forever. You're just saying that to make people feel bad for you. Or, I'm so hungry I could eat a horse. I will die if I do not get to go out this weekend. These are all exaggerations. These things aren't actually happening. Hyperbole, exaggeration. That's how you get it right. Personification. This one, the hint is in the word already. You have the word person. You're giving human qualities to things that are not living. For example, the wind howled all night long. We've heard that sentence before. The wind's not really howling, it can't, but it's making that noise like a person would. Traffic was crawling all the way home. Again, that's a human quality. Traffic can't physically crawl. But we're giving those characteristics to things that aren't living. That piece of cake is calling my name. It's not. It doesn't have a mouth to speak. But you do believe it, yes, as do I. The old stairs groaned as we walked up them. It gives life to non-human elements, helps us picture the scene better. Alliteration. Have you heard of this one before? Different? Okay, so this is the repetition of the same consonant sound. So the first one I put is a tongue twister that I'm sure you've heard. She sells seashells by the seashore. What are we repeating? The S sound. Now, it doesn't have to be a tongue twister or anything. Please put your pen away. I'm repeating that same consonant P sound. Bobby read the book by Ben Brown. Authors will use this sometimes to make you slow down when you're reading, kind of make you pay attention to what they're saying. It again is some type of technique that we're going to be seeing a lot of. Alliteration, repetition of the same consonant sound. Often in poetry this is used as well. Irony. Has anyone heard someone say, like, oh, that's ironic? That's what this is. There are a few different types of irony. The first one I have is just verbal irony, where you're saying something that's opposite of what you mean. So if I said, oh, great, now my phone doesn't work. I don't really mean, oh, great, I mean the opposite of that. Then you can have situational irony, where something is going on that's the opposite of what you intend. So I posted a rant on Facebook about how ridiculous social media is. That is ironic, because I'm saying I don't like social media, yet I'm using social media to complain about it. So all you have to really know is the intended meaning is opposite from the literal meaning. And then there's also dramatic irony in plays, but we don't need to discuss that just yet. We'll get there with Romeo and Juliet. We won't read all.
You don't have to tell them blue and red there.
Well, that's good. You want to read it? We're going to do just segments from it. So.
I just want you to know you're going to read with Romeo and Juliet because my mother is a reader.
Yes, good. That is good. It is good to read. Idiom. This is another one that kind of we don't discuss very often, but we should because we use these sayings quite a bit. An idiom is an expression. So have you ever heard, time flies when you're having fun? Or, we're in the same boat? Or, let's call it a day. We don't really mean these things. It's just an expression, a figure of speech. It slipped my mind. That was a piece of cake. I'm between a rock and a hard place. Have we heard these sayings before? Yeah. They're just expressions. That's it. Symbolism. This one I'm sure you have heard of. The representation of something through an object or a word. So if we are reading and we keep coming across a certain character, or the character is doing something particular, and you think it's a symbol, that means is it's going to represent something bigger than that actual thing, that actual person, that actual object. We talked about this a little bit with the stories that we read the last class. You good? You want me to go back?
Yeah.
Sorry.
I was wondering.
Just tell me. Don't make me start yelling.
I'm just switch that.
Good? All right. Onomatopoeia. Very long word for pretty much very short words. These are words that when they're spoken sound like the actual sound that they are conveying. So what does that mean? Words like boom, crash, crackle. What'd you say? Pow. Drip, mumble, click. They all sound like what they actually are when they are happening. This again brings life into what we read. Helps us hear, again, appealing to the senses. We hear these things going on. Good? All right, so we have to remember when we use these terms, they're not meant to be taken literally.
You write it down?
You don't have to, just to kind of remember as we go forward. We don't want to take these words and expect them to mean exactly what they're saying. These are all figures of speech. We're going to be using these things constantly, so it's important that we remember everything and commit it to memory. This when they ask you to analyze literature, this is what they're talking about. Okay? All right.